news is a shit show these days, and we're here to give you a break from the white supremacist media bullshit by bringing you the shitty news so that you can feel less like shit because you know the people discussing all the fucked up shit give a shit about you and the shitty situations you deal with every day. So shit. Pour yourself a glass and settle in for Father Teresa's wine cellar.
I just got done doing an interview deep diving the entire trad wife movement. Because although I love the aesthetic and I am a stay-at-home mom, I do not believe a woman's place is in service to her man or her household. So when we were discussing the trad wives and why it's connected to the alt-right, a realization came into my head that I had not yet made the connection between. The reason why trad wives and so-called like traditional women can be so dangerous is because they believe it is not just their place to be in service to their husbands and their homes. It is women's place to be in service to their husband and their homes. The difference between individual choice and natural position is what makes it dangerous. Because men have been able to hold those misogynistic views forever, and only recently has feminism pushed back against it. But when it is a woman who holds these ideologies to be truth, she has now emboldened an entire score of misogynistic men to go forth and subjugate women on the premise that that is their place.
All right, folks. Phoenix Kalita was like, hey, let's talk about green flags to look for when you want to be one of the folks that does the whole relationship thing. Relationship thing. I should be more serious than that. Developing a partnership, a life companionship, a romantic companionship with another person, which again, this is the language that I've been using since I was in my mid-teens. Trying to get in a relationship with someone is trying to turn a stranger into a family member.
Yes.
You should take it very serious. That's why when I was a teenager, I heard gay people use the word partner, and I was like, that's a great word for that.
Yes.
And I've seen some gay folks, in the modern day in social media, because this was back in the 90s. I seen folks in the modern day be like, I don't like hetero people taking that from. I'm like, my bad, nigga. I took it during the Clinton administration, and I'm riding with it because it's the right word.
It is the right word.
Especially under capitalism.
Yeah. Like
you're partners making partnership decisions. But let's check out, might call a coach. In femininity and dating.
Okay.
I always say femininity like I'm drunk. Like I can't say that
Femininity?
word. Yeah, femininity. I can't do it. I don't know what's wrong with my face. But let's see. So, and this video was tagged, grab your free high-value woman dating plan in my bio and start today. Pink heart, feminine energy, divine feminine, femininity, hyper feminine, energy healing, life coach, feminine energy coach, feminine woman. Born for this. Foxy.
Yeah.
He leads. Number 6, he isn't a high quality man that I wish I knew sooner. Number 1, he has a sense of urgency to pursue you.
Yeah?
He knows he wants you and is going to take the necessary actions to make it happen.
Really?
Going off the first one, number 2 is he's very action oriented. Not just in love, but in every area of his life. He doesn't just talk, he executes. Number 3, he's confident. Number 4, he always initiates contact. Number 5, he leads. Number 6, he isn't intimidated by your power and feminine embodiment. Number 7, he has active goals and is always striving to achieve those goals. Number 8, he prioritizes his health. Number 9, he's direct and honest. Number 10, he values a woman's mind and personality over her physical appearance. Number 11, he values and appreciates a woman's presence and energy. Number 12, he's stable and mature. Number 13, he's secure. Number 14, he's emotionally available and also emotionally intelligent. Number 15, he makes decisions with his future in mind. Number 16, he communicates effectively. Number 17, he never ever leaves you guessing his intentions with you and the relationship. Number 18, he is constantly working on bettering himself and has a growth mindset.
All right, I don't know why the video goes on for 33 more seconds, but there's your 18. It seems like it started to make more sense toward the end. Like it's like it's like she showed someone what she had up to 11, and they said, can you put emotional intelligence in there somewhere? And she was like, what's that? I'll put it in.
So, first of all, it's 18 things that are really more like 7 things if you like really break it down. A lot of these are like highly
like how George Carlin broke down the 10 commandments to one idea.
Yes, exactly. So that but also it did not make more sense at the end, because in order to end up in a good place, you have to have a good foundation, because the first ones were so fucked up. By the time you get to the end ones, they won't be applied the way that they should be applied in a healthy manner. Does that make sense?
Like his emotional intelligence is what? Like he laughs at jokes?
Right. Because like emotional intelligence is great, but based off the quality, if you go for like number 1 through 10 or whatever and find a man with those qualities, you will not actually find a man with genuine emotional intelligence. It will be what he calls emotional intelligence, but it won't actually be emotional intelligence. Also, I want to point out that, as I said before we started recording, I see her hashtags, hyper feminine, divine feminine, feminine woman. Those are basically code for trad wife. And this whole list is code for trad wife shit, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, like, because her first thing is that, like, he'll do whatever it takes to pursue you. It's could be flattering, could also be stalkerish. You should really fucking put some nuance on that. But then also, whatever it takes to pursue you, keep in mind, how does that relate to emotional intelligence later on? What kind of emotional intelligence does the stalker guy have?
That's
really?
Steve Urkel burning Laura's name into the lawn outside. Right? Or what was that shit? What was it, the movie Pretty in Pink? The nigga with the fucking boombox? Was that Pretty in Pink?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, nah, nigga, that's creepster shit, nigga.
Yeah, remember that one article about the guy who was, like, obsessively outside playing piano because his girlfriend broke up with him, and he would, like, just play songs hoping that she would get back with him? Like, that's weirdo shit.
Yeah, like, she should pee in a jar and throw it out the window at him.
She should.
But, like, after eating asparagus. Okay? Do it right.
So, yeah, a lot of these are not actually great goals or things to aspire to, at least not within the context of the trad wife sort of mindset, right? Because ultimately what you're setting yourself up for with that is failure, because you're going to be with a man who's patriarchally minded, who wants to be like the final say-so, who wants to be in control, and then you end up like, who is it who's getting divorced right now? Steven Crowder's wife?
Oh, shit.
Right? You're pregnant, he's yelling at you, you're in a fucking mansion and he's a multimillionaire, but you only have one car because he doesn't let you leave when you want to. That's where that shit gets you, okay? And a lot of her advice would absolutely end up there. Ugh, it's so like, I'm not a fan of it. So yeah, I don't know what you thought about it, but that's where I am with it.
Yeah, like now without you there, like let's say you're not here and I'm just playing the video alone, I'd have been like, this is fucking stupid. But like, that's why it's good to have you there, so you could be like, this is trad wife, this is irresponsible. And I'm like, it's also those things. So yeah, that's also why I don't like doing these videos without you.
Yeah, no, it's definitely all those things, and it's very frustrating. So, like, what were some of the things she said? That he's goal-oriented, right? Like, that's good, that's great, but you need to make sure that your goals are compatible. It's more, it's great that everyone has a goal, but if your goals don't intertwine together, because, again, this is about creating a life partnership, right?
And also, goals at what? My bad, you were saying something.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Like, goals at what? Like, y'all realize these words don't fucking mean anything, right? Goals and lead, like how you said, like the list can be broken down. Those both are just one and the same fucking thing. And also, you don't need to be led, right? If you're a single woman right now, like Kevin Hart's uncle, right? By yourself, going to work, paying bills, tying your shoes, taking a shit, wiping your ass, cooking your meals. You don't need nobody to motherfucking lead you to what? To what? What, does he need to fucking like take control of your life and be like, I could do? No, nigga, that's what pimps say. That's how pimps talk. All right? Go back and listen to the Kanye West and Twista record, Overnight Celebrity, and listen to the breakdown part where Twista's just talking and he's like, I could be your manager. That's pimp shit. Any man that's talking about leading you is talking about pimping your existence as a woman.
Yeah.
Red motherfucking flag. And then goals. who the fuck in capitalism has a different goal? Make as much money as possible so I can afford a health care and a house that's sealed off from the elements outside no matter what season it is. We pretty much all have the same damn goal.
Except now, this is where I'll disagree.
Yeah.
Even though we all have the same goal of making more money and having a house, if we're talking trad wife shit, which is what she seems to be pushing, his goal may not be your goal. You may just want to have a nice house and you can hang out in your backyard and whatever. His goal may be to keep you at home as a stay-at-home mother, whether you want to or not.
Huh.
Right? That's why we have to talk about goals.
Yeah. What is his goal? Like,
Right.
is his goal...
Because in both of those scenarios, that you still have the house,
Yeah.
but very different lifestyle.
Like, here, like, let's take 2 lines from 2 different things, right? One line from Devin the Dude out of Texas about women. He loved making trash out another nigga's treasure. Second line from family sitcom Family Guy. Peter Griffin talking about marrying Lois. I'm gonna ruin her. Mm-hmm. You know how they like your body being all fit and slim and together? Mm-hmm. Because they like the sadistic, sick idea of ruining it. Yeah. It's not because they love family and they love children because Jesus. It's because they like the idea of destroying a woman in one way or another. Mm-hmm. And physically, through pregnancy is one of those ways. What up?
Oh, and then they'll cheat on you because you're now ugly because they got you pregnant and you now have like stretch marks or you're like overweight and now it's your fault that they're cheating on you even though they're the ones who insisted you get pregnant.
Yeah, like a Christian woman sent me a friend request some years ago on Facebook and I've been slowly propagandizing her, with the type of shit I be talking here and there. And guess what she's been posted recently this week? Pictures of women that have been pregnant and now their stomach is like, it has like the stretch marks and whatnot from pregnancy. Yeah. And she's putting like, learn to embrace this.
Yes.
Hey, it's entry level. Yes. All right. But keep in mind, when she first sent me the friend request, she was an evangelical Christian. Yeah. All right. You start propagandizing. Right? Because that's what they actually want to do. So his goal is to change your body and your life to his liking.
Yep.
Right? And I remember one thing, again, this was toward the end of me hanging out with men. I know, I always sound like a stereotypical feminist, but I'm just telling you what's real to me. Like, this was, I think the last time I hung out with a man was February 2014. This was around like 2011 when I was just stepping away from more and more of them. I was hanging out, I'll say his name, Nathan Tufts. I was hanging out with a cat named Nathan Tufts. And we're just like, drinking a beer, drinking a Miller Genuine Draft, all right. Smoking a cigarette, drinking a beer. Mm-hmm. And a couple comes by jogging, and they're probably like a decade and change older than us. And he was like, yep, you gotta do that sometimes. And I was like, yep, go out jogging. He said, no, you gotta exercise your wife.
Oh, God.
And he meant it.
Jesus.
He meant it.
See? Yeah. See? And that's why you need clarification, because you thought.
Yeah. You gotta exercise your wife. Mm-hmm. What the fuck? Like, so he saw it as like fucking walking the dog.
Mm-hmm. Which is, I gotta say, like, one of those things when I always like lean on, you have to ask for clarification of, how things end up, because so many women, and sometimes men too, but a lot of times women end up in relationships where like everything seemed good until it wasn't, because y'all went jogging together. You assumed it's because he wants to hang out and exercise with you. He actually meant, and that's why you have to get that clarification.
Yeah, don't want it getting too fat. What if I have to cheat on it? None of us wants that to happen, right?
None of us wants that to happen.
Again. None of us wants that to happen again. Yeah, like, it's fucking dirty out there. Mm-hmm. So, green flags was supposed to be the idea.
It was supposed to be.
What are good things?
I think that a very good green flag is active listening. Yeah.
And then how do you determine it?
So active listening is listening is actually a skill, I will say. Like, it's something you sort of have to train yourself to do. Because like, well, as we just said, right? You can hear someone say something, but you have your own interpretation of what they said, even though that's not necessarily how they meant it. So part of active listening is hearing what someone says and kind of not only acknowledging as they're talking, like, oh, okay, you know, head nods, making eye contact so you're engaged, but also repeating back what you heard to make sure that you're both on the same page about what's happening.
That's
right?
why Republicans don't like talking politics in the workplace.
I'm just saying.
They're like, don't make me clarify that.
I mean, seriously.
It turns into bread tube real quick.
Oh, I'm saying. Yeah, so I think active listening is a really important part of that because, again, well, like, you know, as we're talking about, like, the trad wives and shit and how women keep getting caught up in this because, yeah, okay, we want to have a nice house, we want to have kids. I want to have kids, he wants to have kids, we want to have kids, it's great, right? And then after you're married, you find out when he said that he wants you to have kids, he meant 6 kids, you meant 2. Now you're at an impasse, and he's the breadwinner. Now you can't leave. Well, not easily leave. Yeah, not easily leave, right? So it's like those sort of things because he said you want kids, you said you want kids, you talked about it, but it wasn't an active listening conversation where you came to the goals together as a team, which is another thing. None of this fucking like men lead, women submissive. No, it's a team effort. Work on it like a team. Right? I think that is a very big part of it. Understanding that is a huge green flag, that it's a partnership, not a dictatorship. Yeah.
And if you've never been pregnant before and you're I'm just going to everyone knows I'm talking about AFAB. If you're a woman, if you've never been pregnant before, know that you're going to get fucking hemorrhoids. Like, it's not just like your body changes as in like your belly gets big and you waddle a little bit. Like, your whole shit, like, a baby is fucking big.
Yes.
And then there's placenta around it and all sorts of other shit cracking off.
Yeah.
Like, what else besides the hemorrhoids?
As far as what physical changes?
Yeah.
Your breasts will start to sag, especially, you know, if you're like nursing as well, which holy shit, nursing, I fully support it. I breastfed my kids, but Jesus fucking Christ, that shit could be a nightmare at times. Because if you don't pump fast enough, your boobs will actually get like hard because there's too much milk in them. And like you get engorged and it's like physically very fucking painful. And then also because it is a very biological thing, like if you're breastfeeding, if you hear a baby cry, you might just start leaking. I was in the grocery store and not even my baby, someone else's baby did the hungry cry, because babies have different cries. They have like the I'm too tired cry, the I'm hungry cry, they told me, like, I know it sounds wild. When you have your own baby, you get it.
It's like how I know we have 3 cats. I know their voices.
Yes. Yeah. So like, it wasn't even my baby. It was someone else's baby did the hungry cry. Middle of the fucking grocery store.
Ew.
It was not great.
And this was my good shirt.
It's not great.
You've been waiting until you weren't pregnant anymore to wear that shirt again. That's your favorite shirt, and now it has been milked.
Yes.
Ew.
You have a risk of gestational diabetes, which is like diabetes that you only get when you're pregnant.
The fuck?
Yeah, because it's like fucking with your hormones and your blood sugar and shit.
You want to get diabetes in a for-profit healthcare system? You want that?
Fucking wild. Back pain, right? Because, and as the baby grows, you have to be very mindful of where you are in relation to a bathroom, because you have to pee a lot, because the baby is... That's why the bladder is so like elastic, right? Because the baby's on it, so that, but then you hold less. The baby will be kicking you. Heartburn, right? All those sort of things.
When
and
it
like,
grows hair, does that give heartburn?
No.
No? Oh, that's a myth.
What grows hair?
I heard that like if they're growing hair while you're pregnant, that causes heartburn.
No, you get heartburn because they're just taking up so much space in there that like you're not digesting your food as well.
Oh,
so it's kind of almost like acid reflux, right? Where it kind of pushes it back up. Right, you know, like it's like, yeah, so it's like acid reflux.
So you know how you feel when you eat too big of a calzone too fast and you drink a Sprite right after it? Imagine that for 9 months.
Well, it won't be the whole 9 months. It'll be as the baby's bigger. But yeah, like all those sort of things.
5 of them?
Yeah.
5 months?
And then, of course, it also depends, like, if you're having, like, twins or triplets or something, it'll start sooner, right? So, yeah, all that type of stuff. And, like, I'm not trying to scare people away from pregnancy or having children, but we don't really have a society that's talks about it realistically in terms of how it will impact your body. Like, yeah. And then, the hemorrhoids, you can get varicose veins, back pain, leg pain. Some people have had spinal issues, nerve pain, joint pain, right? Because like you're kind of spreading out to accommodate the size of the baby. So you can for some people, like fucks up their hips, right? Like with the joints and stuff.
Fuck.
Like, yeah, there's a lot of things that can go wrong when you're pregnant. But and that's, I think, not only misogyny and also a lack of science leads to not talking about these things, because there's this assumption that because it's a natural process, which it is, right? You have sex, you get pregnant, you have a baby. That doesn't always mean it's a healthy process or a good process, but people assume because it's natural, it's done with ease, right? But just because something is natural does not mean that it's easy or safe, right? And also, fun fact, once you start labor, you can't stop.
Oh,
yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I mean, it's much better now because we have, more advanced medical care. But, like, 100 years ago, you keep reading about, like, these women who died in pregnancy. The reason that you die in pregnancy is that your body will not stop once labor starts. Like, you physically cannot stop it without drug intervention. So if the baby just doesn't come out, you just die because your body cannot stop contractions once they start. And like that's I believe, what is it, a negative feedback loop? There's only two of them that the human body does, and pregnancy is one of them, where like it won't stop the contractions until it perceives the baby to be out of the birth canal.
Yeah.
And like if the baby's not coming out, and there's a lot of reasons, right? Like some women, like the way their hip structure is, it's hard for them to birth a baby. They don't have the physical stamina to do it, right? Because some people be in labor for like 18 hours and shit. And like 2-3 days of this, some people can't handle the pain of it. They can't like push. Sometimes the baby's head is too big and gets stuck, and you have to pull. Yeah, like
that sounds like intelligent design.
Yeah, I actually had to do that with one of mine. They had to get the forceps, which are basically kind of like long ass tongs, and like help pull the baby out. Or if it's a breech birth, right? Typically babies come out head first. If they come out feet first, it's harder for the baby to come out because they're not supposed to be that way. You might have to physically like turn the baby like during labor. Yeah, it's like some wild ass shit be happening during pregnancy and labor. And then of course, once the baby comes out, then the placenta comes out. You bleed for like weeks afterward. You just don't stop bleeding. Like, yeah, it's like the worst period you've ever fucking had.
This is what Republicans want to happen to 12-year-old girls.
It is.
The fuck?
Yeah. And then it's wild. And then of course, you also put on pregnancy weight, and people assume that's just the baby. It's not. It's everything else. It's the baby, but also everything else going on in your body, because now you have to pump, blood and oxygen into the baby. So like you literally have more like volume of blood in your body when you're pregnant, because it has to go more places and do more things. Like you might retain water, so you're also putting on water weight. So like if you give birth to like an 8-pound baby, you might lose like 20 pounds. Like within the first couple weeks, because it's not just the baby, it's the baby plus the placenta plus your organs shrinking back down to size plus your like blood volume levels like going back to normal, all that type of shit. Like it's a lot. I don't even know why I'm on this tangent, but it's a fucking lot, okay?
Because we're talking about green flags.
And we're talking about green flags. And I had easy births, okay? Mine are considered like textbook, relatively textbook easy.
I had to be cut out of my biological mother.
C-section?
That's what it's called. Cesarean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, keep all that in mind if you're getting pregnant. Like, not trying to scare anybody, but I do wish that we had more realistic conversations about how that went.
Let me mansplain something to you, all right? Especially those of you under the age of like 23, all right? Let me tell you something. What I did in my 20s, I get up like 2 a.m. You know what? I'm gonna go outside. I'm gonna smoke a joint and do a little dance in the yard. You know what? It's Monday. I'm off work. I'm gonna ride the bicycle down to the farmer's market, run up in the library, grab a couple shrimps, go home, cook them, fucking eat them.
Yeah?
You know what? It's Saturday. It's about 10 a.m. I'm gonna make a steak and get hammered. Just sit and listen to stand-up comedy. John Mulaney was out at the time. It was good stuff. I would like for you to be able to have the opportunity to have your 20s like I had my 20s.
Yes.
Everywhere, there are men all over the place, and women that, help them. I think they call them pick-me's. That language, it doesn't sound good coming out of my mouth. I don't usually say it. But men and pick-me's that want to take that from you, not just from your 20s, but from the rest of your life. Like, and this is why I do content like this, because, like, as I was going into my 30s, I was looking back at my 20s, and then I'm looking at the 20s of, like, women I knew that had kids when they were, 19, 18, maybe even 21, and they didn't get to have any of that shit. They went straight from high school to parenthood.
That was me.
Parenthood with a job.
Yep.
Sometimes parenthood, job, and further schooling at the same time. That ain't no motherfucking life, homie.
No, it's not.
We're talking about green flags.
We are talking about green flags.
Should I say green flag if, who knows, maybe there's a man watching me. Only like less than 30% of my audience is men. So like for all 8 of you niggas, if you're even single, like none of the men that follow me are even single. They're all married librarians and shit.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
This is the thing. We don't have that many green flags to look for. Because we are in a society that has been driven patriarchal for century upon century upon century, that for the most part, it's us that have to be analyzed if we're good or bad. Because, like, even if a woman doesn't really have a great personality, as long as she's not like some fucking Christian Nazi, she's good.
Yeah.
Like, even, I've come across women where, like, my only beef with them was that they were kind of ignorant. They say things like eggs are man-made. Like, shit like that. Or I think, or they're just a little too conservative. Like, really, men really we just have to look for compatibility.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're ideologically aligned with me, if a woman is left of fucking Orrin Hatch, you're kind of good. But let me see, like, what would be some real green flags?
I think a big green flag is ability to handle arguments well.
You think that's something to look for, that men should look for?
I do actually, yeah. Because I think that can create like long-term stress.
I think I would look for. Wait, keep going.
Oh, I say like I think it can create like long-term stress because like I know something that you always sort of women are stereotyped as doing is like when you're in the middle of an argument, like, well, 2 years ago you did this, and then 5 years ago you did that, and I don't find that to be particularly healthy in a relationship.
I'd be wondering how often that's really happening versus how often men claim it's happening.
I don't know.
Yeah, because I was in some black households coming up, and some white households, and some Mexican households. I didn't really see this a lot. Yeah, I don't know, but then again, that's anecdotal. It's not scientific.
Because I saw it coming up, but again, I got shipped off to the white conservative Christians, so that might just be like a them thing.
Okay,
so,
and maybe even like black conservative Christians.
Maybe,
which is like black conservative Christians are a little overrepresented in media.
Ooh.
Yeah, like we're not all you. But here's something like a green flag for women. Does she have her own hobby that you can join her, but if you don't, she's still gonna be doing that shit? Like, that should be like, whether I'm very involved in the gardening, and most of that is because to each to their ability, and soil is heavy, so I'm very involved. But if I wasn't, Venus Kalita would still have like 4 buckets out there growing squash and rhubarb and zucchini. No, not zucchini. Cucumbers and whatnot. And what was the one that Doug Funny likes? The beets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Venus Kalita would still do that. She didn't like. But if the woman is if she'll give up a hobby that she has because you're not involved and whatnot, like, I think that's not good. But then here it comes back to, but that's because you're not helping. So again, it's really only women that have to look for the flags for the most part. Like, the only flags men need to look for is, like, is she on some Casey Anthony shit?
Oof.
Like, yeah, like, is she a fucking killer? You know, like, yeah. Because for the most part, again, like, women aren't that damn bad. Like, I saw the most horrible excuse for a documentary recently about Eminem and Kim Mathers.
Oh.
And here's the premise. He was 13 and a runaway from an abusive home, and he was 15. This is where it starts.
Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah, I guess from my end, like, there aren't that many green flags to look for. I guess, like, intellectual curiosity. Like, let's hope that she actually cares about reading things. Does she value facts? But then again, is everything I'm saying just political again?
Yeah. But I feel like that's important, though, because you don't want to end up with somebody and you have very, like, different political ideas, right? Because, like, you saw the articles, well, of course it was women getting divorced, but you saw the articles coming out, like, after Trump was in office, women were like, I need to divorce my husband. I don't know what the fuck is going on. Like, you know? So, yeah, I do think that political compatibility matters because politics isn't just politics. That's also an indicator of, like, your ethics and your morality as well, right? Because it's one thing to say, like, politically, like, I'm pro-life, but, like, so what you're actually saying in practice, though, is that 12-year-old girls who get raped should be forced to birth the baby. That's an ethical fucking issue for me.
Like, are there any green flags to look for women that are not political, ideological?
I
guess, like, if you're, like, now this one, let's clarify, this is not some get in the kitchen bullshit. Fuck that. But is she a relatively self-sufficient human? And you know what? Talk to her about it. If she's not, like, did she come from a background where her house didn't teach her? Then you show her some shit you know, right? If Vince Khalida didn't know how to cook, I'd be like, well, nigga, let's make some tacos together. Let me lace you up. Boom, boom, this is how you, boom, you want the chicken at, you know, this temperature, blam. Or if you work in a restaurant in this state, this is the state, whoop, whoop, whoop. You know, do you want steak up to like 135 degrees to get a good medium rare and then wrap it in plastic and then let it sit for 10 minutes and the flavor will insist upon itself? You know, like maybe some game like that. Or I guess, is she nice to cashiers? Yeah, again, not a lot of green flags for men to be worried about. And I know there's probably some conservative man that tuned into this, all one of you niggas. This like, but what if she's crazy? I said if she's not on some Casey Anthony shit, nigga. I said that part. Well, what's another part that a conservative man might trip? What do they have other than she's crazy?
Crazy. I guess, well, it's always worth talking about domestic violence situations, but I feel like that counts as the crazy in some ways.
Yeah, like, is she into hitting you in a way that doesn't feel like playing?
Yeah.
That does exist.
One example I saw was, well, I mean, I don't know if it was on Reddit, so who the fuck knows if it was true. But it was a guy who wore glasses and had a hard time seeing without them, and his girlfriend thought it was funny to, like, hide it. Like, we would take him off his sleep, and when she would get up before him, she would hide them because she thought it was funny to watch him look for them. Like, that's not cool at all.
Yeah, like, there's a it's not a slippery slope because it's a long slope, because if you stay together long term, you're gonna reach a point where you can't move around as fast.
Yeah. So, like, you know, I mean, I don't know if that was true because, again, it was on Reddit, but, like, something like that I think would be a huge red flag, because that's, you know, not only taking your personal property, but also creating a situation that's dangerous for you, right? Because I've seen, like, the converse of that too, which was also a Reddit post, so who knows, but a woman saying, like, her husband liked to, like, jump out and scare her, you know, because he thought it was, like, funny or whatever, but one time he did it while she was cooking, and she ended up cutting her hand and having to get stitches. Yeah. So, like, that sort of thing, I think, is a really big red flag. So the green flag is make sure, or, well, I don't know, red flag, green flag, but I guess the thing there is, what kind of things do they find humorous? Do they think it's funny to set you up in a situation where you are now in physical danger or have the possibility of getting hurt, but they play it off as a joke? That's a big one.
Yeah, adding on to that, like, does she value safety?
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's immediate. As soon as people like, how do you drive? I go right into that one. I don't fuck around with unsafe drivers. I will not.
Yeah.
And when Phoenix Khalid's driving, always checking them side view mirrors. Fuck's happening? Watching these niggas defensively. Ho, hip, hup. Like, nobody can do anything on the road that will make Phoenix Khalida run into you. It's not possible. You can't do it. Niggas have ran into her. Them. But Phoenix Khalida has never run into another person with the vehicle.
Nope.
Them. I said them. Damn it. That's what I try to tell these niggas.
I'm still fucking mad about that guy. God damn him.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's definitely him. Oh, man. The police would not let me near him,
Well,
which is unfair.
he totaled our car.
He almost killed you.
I couldn't get out of the driver's side.
Fucking guy.
All because he didn't want to fucking slow down.
In the snow.
In the snow.
Yeah.
Drive like a responsible person in the snow.
Yeah, so safety, that is something, you know, because like also like even if you're not in the vehicle with her driving, like you don't want to be with a partner that's risking their own life and then the emotional toll that's going to take on you when they eventually die because they refuse to take their own safety seriously. You know, that could even come down to diet too.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to be with a partner where it's like everything is all good, but they will not stop chomping down artery cloggers or at least like slow down and balance it out with some celery and shit like that.
Yeah.
All right. We all hate celery. It sucks ass. All right. You
What?
dip it in all the peanut butter you want.
What? It's fine when it's cooked.
I guess part of a soup. If it's part of a nice soup, a sopa.
A sopa.
Yeah. A good sopa, okay. But just the celery stick in and of itself.
Yeah, raw celery is not good.
Yeah, like that's just thick grass, and I won't have it. Not in this house. Also, I think willingness to move, right? Like obviously, like when Phoenix Leader and I met, I was in Florida. Not wanting to move to Florida is very sensible.
Yes.
But when it was time for us to really like,
Holy shit, just all the legislation coming out of Florida right now, could you imagine?
yeah.
Oh my god.
Woo!
Oh.
It's time to biz ounce. But when it was time to like really look for some real long-term housing, because when we first got together, everywhere that we lived, like we were there for about 18 months. And we were like, we gotta fucking go. Can't do it. Can't do it. Obviously, the first apartment, that's temporary by default. Like the first apartment you get together, you're just getting that because you're both leaving wherever you live and moving together.
Yeah.
Just like that is, you're warehousing yourself there. That is a storage unit for people. That's what the first apartment is as a couple. But like we needed something longer term and it needed us to cross 2 sets of state lines to get the right one.
Yeah.
And like that willingness to move, we already had established in 2014 before we even got the first apartment together in 2016.
Yeah.
Also, patience. Don't be
Yes.
rushing shit. And no, I'm not making a joke about lesbians. All right? We all know that old stereotype. But like, patience. Like, let's really take some time and not just establish compatibility, but really analyze. Get in the nooks and crannies of that shit. You have no idea how many thousands of hours we talked.
So many hours.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's super important because I'm not trying to be in a relationship where like you just spring some shit on me. Like one day out of the blue, like you just, I mean, I don't know, say some like wild ass Republican shit. I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Like, you know, I mean, I don't know, like whatever it is. Cause like I hear this happens all the time because people don't really talk about like religion and politics or whatever. And like so many times I'll see like a couple that's together, everything's fine, everything's good. But then like they'll have a kid, right? And then all of a sudden it's, he's hitting the kid with a belt. And I'm like, y'all didn't talk about how you raised children before you had one? Because you should probably talk about parenting techniques before the child is here.
Yeah.
You know, like that sort of thing. Like, I'm not trying to have like that goofy shit like sprung on me like that to be like, and then out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere.
He said, and I was like, what? Like, yeah, I think that the talking is important and talking about everything. Not just fun stuff like, what do you like to do? This is what I like to do. This is what kind of tacos I like. This is how I like my steak cooked, you know.
Yeah.
But also, you know, politically, where are you? How do you feel about, you know, religion? How do you feel about, you know, these current events that are happening? How do you feel about the world around you? Where do you think your place is in the world around you? Like, all that type of shit. Because, yeah, I don't want those unfortunate surprises down the line.
Yeah, like, right now, neither of us are, like, we're having fun, you know, as far as, like, our gardening together in the yard. And, like, there is a degree of, like, oh shit, the plums are coming in. Get the fuck out of here. Holy shit, this tree is going to yield so many apples. But we're not that surprised. Because when I met Phoenix Calida, we were FaceTiming, and Phoenix Calida was showing me, like, oh, this is how I'm growing these potatoes and all. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, cheerio, you know, and that's how we talked on the phone. And, like, and then I'm telling Phoenix Calida about how, like, when I was a child and, like, my mother had me growing carrots, and I'd pull the carrots up and scrub them off and eat them motherfuckers, and I grew peas on the front porch. And then Phoenix is like, I don't like peas, bad texture. So then I know that if I'm making some macaroni and cheese and I'm throwing all my shit in there that I like to put in there, don't put the peas in it, or else Phoenix can't have any.
No peas.
Yeah. Also, consideration.
Yes.
And also, it's almost 3 p.m.
It is.
We talked about nothing but green flags on this.
Not tangential in any way at all.
But you see, that's how it also looks when you're acting in good faith. You don't just have, like, what you see on the screen with this grifter, 18 green flags. There are no 18 green flags. That's not real. Could you imagine if it was just that number and it was that tight and you just learned that in elementary school and everyone lives happily ever after?
Right.
That's not fucking realistic. Life is a blurry cloud of potential disappointment.
Yes.
Choose your lightning bolts wisely.
Yes.
And I'm out with the thunderclap.